Have you been working out consistently and eating right and you still aren't losing weight? Well, I know how frustrating that can be. And today, I am going to talk about one of the biggest reasons why you may not be losing weight, even though you're doing all the right things. That reason is stress. Today in part one, I'm breaking down why stress causes weight gain and going through the various hormones that stress affects to cause you to gain weight. In part two, we'll go over some strategies to help you counteract the effects of stress. Hi, I'm Dr. Var. I'm a double board certified family and obesity medicine physician, and I'm also certified in functional medicine, and I help people get to the root cause of their chronic symptoms and disease so they can reset their health and reclaim their life. All right, so let's get to it. First reason is cortisol. If you just have an acute stress event, you'll have a rise in cortisol and adrenaline, which are your stress hormones, and adrenaline will go away quickly and cortisol will hang around a little longer. Once that acute stress is over, it'll decline. However, many of us are chronically stressed with heavy traffic, more work deadlines, family issues, etc., that our cortisol is chronically elevated. So when your cortisol is high, it will first cause your blood sugar to go up. And when your blood sugar goes up, this is going to cause insulin to go up. And insulin tends to promote fat storage if there's too much sugar around. When you are stressed and cortisol goes up, it'll spike your blood sugar even if you haven't eaten yet, because your body is going into this fight or flight mode, so it's trying to give you energy by getting the sugar from your cells and pouring it into the bloodstream and raising your blood sugar so you can have energy to deal with your stress. Now, back in the day when we had to run away from wild animals, we were using up that energy. But now what happens is we are sedentary. We are sitting at a desk thinking about all the work we have to do, and cortisol is going up, our sugar is going up, but we're not burning off that sugar. Insulin goes up, and then insulin tends to cause you to store fat. Now, the other thing is if you haven't eaten, then cortisol will break down your muscles to get glucose so that it can dump it in the bloodstream so you have this energy. It may actually lower your muscle mass over the long term if you are chronically stressed, which then can decrease your metabolic rate. So then what happens is you may be eating the same amount of calories, but because you have less muscle, you aren't burning as many, and thus you don't get that calorie deficit that can help cause a weight loss. Your body will actually burn less calories, even if you're doing the same workouts and eating the same thing. And then cortisol will also increase your weight gain in your midsection. This is because you have a lot of cortisol receptors in your abdominal area, so it'll be more likely to store fat in your abdominal area. So what that means is even if you're doing all the things right and you are very stressed, you are still going to gain the weight in the midsection versus someone who's doing the same diet and exercise who's not as stressed. The second way that stress causes weight gain is it causes insulin resistance, as cortisol causes blood sugar to be released into your bloodstream. That signals your pancreas to increase the insulin. However, if you are chronically having this signal, then you can become insulin resistant. So what happens is insulin takes sugar from the blood and puts it back into the cells. Insulin is kind of like a key to your cell. So insulin latches onto the cell, it opens up the door so sugar can go in. However, if you are insulin resistant, then when insulin tries to open the door, it can't open it. So your pancreas has to make a bunch of insulin, so it just floods the cell and it's forced to open the door so sugar can go in. So you have these high levels of insulin around, then it's going to be promoting fat storage. The third way that stress makes you gain weight is by increasing inflammation. So when you're stressed, it triggers your immune system to go into overdrive. It causes you to make inflammatory immune molecules, And these immune molecules are called cytokines. So you can have inflammatory cytokines or anti-inflammatory cytokines. So you tend to make more of the inflammatory ones when you are stressed, because stress will trigger your immune system, because again, you're in that fight or flight. So it's getting all of its big guns ready to fight. What happens is when you have inflammation, it can affect some of your satiety hormones, such as leptin. Leptin is a hormone that normally tells your brain that you are full and lowers your appetite. But when you have a lot of inflammation, it'll actually make you leptin resistant, where your brain's not getting that signal and your body's trying to produce more and more leptin to overcome it. So because the leptin is not telling your brain that you're full, your body thinks it's hungry. And then it increases a hormone called ghrelin. Ghrelin is your hunger hormone. You eat, and normally after you eat, it's supposed to be suppressed. But if you're chronically stressed, you're losing that leptin signaling, your ghrelin is not going to be suppressed, and then you will feel hungry all the time. This is why when you're stressed, you constantly want to eat. When you're chronically stressed, it also can affect your metabolism by affecting your thyroid hormones. So normally, your thyroid makes two thyroid hormones, T4 and T3. T4 is inactive and it has to get converted to T3 in order for it to be active. When you're stressed, this conversion rate is slowed down, so you don't have as much active thyroid hormone, thus slowing your metabolism more. Inflammation can also damage your mitochondria, and your mitochondria are your energy producers. So it takes your macronutrients, which are your fats, carbs, and proteins, and converts them into energy molecules. But if your mitochondria are damaged, then you're not going to be able to produce as much energy, which means you're not going to burn as many calories. Chronic inflammation also can affect your gut and affect your microbiome. Good bacteria in your gut are responsible for making short-chain fatty acids that may help regulate your weight and your metabolism. The fourth way that stress affects your weight is it disrupts your hunger and satiety signals. So I already talked about leptin and ghrelin, but there's another hormone called adiponectin. Adiponectin is made by your fat cells, and it regulates metabolism and also regulates your insulin, so you're less insulin resistant. It also tends to reduce inflammation, but chronic stress will crush these levels. And so you're not getting some of those protective benefits. And when you have lower adiponectin, you become less efficient at burning fat and more prone to storing it. And the fifth way that stress affects your hormones is that it can disrupt your sleep. So if you are chronically stressed, you may start having higher levels of cortisol at the wrong time. Normally your cortisol is supposed to be higher in the morning, and then it slowly tapers off at night so you can sleep. Cortisol has an inverse relationship with melatonin. So when cortisol is high, melatonin is low, and vice versa. So of course you want your melatonin to be higher because that helps with sleep at night. But if you're chronically stressed, then you'll start to have higher levels of cortisol at night and thus lower levels of melatonin, and then you can't sleep. This is going to affect your hunger and satiety hormones. So you'll constantly be getting this impaired signaling of your hunger hormones. If you aren't getting good sleep, you'll also disrupt growth hormone. Growth hormone is released while you're sleeping and is crucial for maintaining your muscle mass, which plays a role in longevity, but is also important for burning fat when you sleep and regulating your metabolism, and also for repairing cellular damage. Studies have even shown if you sleep less than 6 hours a night, you're more likely to struggle with your weight. You're also more likely to have high blood sugars and even high blood pressure. All right, so I hope you found this video helpful. If you do, please give it a like, please subscribe, and share. Thanks for watching, and have a fantastic day.